Good news. I mean, like this morning, we just got word that American Airlines is going to give a $1,000 bonus to its employees, all of its employees. They're giving back $130 million. As you say, Southwest is doing exactly the same thing, $1,000 bonuses to all their employees. We've already seen AT&T, $1,000 bonuses, Boeing, $100 million to employee facilities. It's a long, long list of the money going directly to employees.
Why are they doing it? Is it just to say to them, thank you so much, we don't want you to leave our company?
I think there's a political reason in the background.
I think you're right.
I think business has to perform. If they don't put that money to work in America, the Democrats, led by Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, are going to say, see, it was just a giveaway to the big corporations and to the rich. They're not doing their duty by putting the money to work in America.
And you know, Stuart, when they put the money in the pockets of their employees, what are they going to do with it? They're going to spend it at the local pizza parlor. They're going to buy a car. It's going straight into the economy.
I think the economy is going to expand close to a 4% rate by the end of this year. And that's very big news, because that's pretty much close to double the rate of expansion that we've had for the last decade. And that's good.
Real quick, we see that Mark Meadows is going to push to make the individual rates permanent. Do you think that's going to work? Have you heard that getting much momentum?
I don't know whether that will work or not. That might interrupt the politics of the situation. I don't know whether it'll work or not. But as of now, everybody who pays federal income tax will get a bigger paycheck because that rate is going down.
Varney and Company, FBN, 9 to noon. Be there, Stuart.
I promise.
I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Still ahead, Eagles star quarterback Carson Wentz feeling the blitz online just for posting a picture of his hunting dog. This morning, he's firing back.
And she's one of racing's biggest stars. So how does she stay so fit this morning? But did you know Danica Patrick is also an expert at maintaining a very healthy lifestyle?
I did know, but I'll pretend for this segment I didn't know. In her new book, Pretty Intense, Danica's got a 90-day program to sculpt your body, calm your mind, and achieve your greatest goals.
And join us right now to cook up one of the healthy and delicious recipes from her new book, race car driver Danica Patrick. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys? I feel like you guys probably need breakfast here because it's a little early.
It is. All right.
Yeah.
So what are you going to make?
This is just a potato-crusted egg bake, and it's really simple. All there is potato, eggs, kale.
You make it.
You know, just some odds and ends. So it's
Dave, come on over here. This is what it winds up looking like.
All right, so give away the ending.
All right,
so it looks like a quiche or a casserole.
So all you do is you take, so there's some melted ghee, so you mix that in.
Some melted what?
Ghee? Where do you buy ghee?
Well, the book is paleo
ghee?
style eating. It's butter without the dairy. So
that thing.
So you just mix this up. Super easy.
I thought you meant this. I'm like, those look like carrots.
It's butter without a
Well, this is sweet potatoes. So you just get your food processor out. Preheat the oven to 400. Get your food processor out. You mix the ghee in with the potato, so you don't even need to do anything with the you know, whatever you cook in, whether it's a skillet or this. And so just spread it out. And what you really want to do is you want to have something kind of flat so you can pack it down. And that's all you do. You just pack it down so that it makes a nice forever. Since I was, you know, I lived alone in England when I was 16. So, you know, I've been cooking for a long time.
And the British aren't known for their eating, you know,
no, so I had to do it myself. So that's it. You pack it down. And then over here you've got your eggs. And we got a dozen eggs.
A lot of eggs.
Dozen eggs. This is like breakfast all week. I feel like this would be perfect for you guys, you know, because you leave so early in the morning.
Wait, are you suggesting you'll come in every morning and cook for us?
Sure, I would.
So, Danica, now that you're heading towards retirement, have you thought about maybe not watching your weight, being a little crazy for a while because you've been so disciplined your entire life?
I think I could watch it even more because I don't have to worry about, like, you know, having the energy to do 4-hour races on Sundays. Although I have 2 more next year.
You have Daytona and Indy.
That's right.
Done.
And then I'm done.
Are you nervous about that?
Is that kale?
No, this is kale. I'm ready. But I'm really excited. I am nervous about Indy because I haven't done Indy since 2011.
So you combine
mix the eggs, mix the kale. That's it. Super easy.
And now we get to eat
it. Put it in there.
Dump it in.
Ainsley, put a couple of tomatoes on the top.
Super easy.
Here we go.
Add a little cheese.
I also say pat dry the tomatoes because they're moist, and you know that's it takes the water out of the top. That's it. Top it with cheese.
All right.
All right.
The recipe on foxandfriends.com.
And her book is Pretty Intense.
Thank you very much.
That was a pretty intense cooking session.
Great to see you, Danica. Now I want you to come on more now.
But the situation intensifying between North Korea and the U.S. as President Trump fires back at Kim Jong-un.
Will someone from his depleted and food-starved regime please inform him that I, too, have a nuclear button?
Fascinating developments in about 40 cities throughout Iran as we see some unrest happening.
We've had a bad regime for a long time in Iran that we've been dealing with. They've been killing Americans, have blood on their hands for years.
The White House meeting with congressional leaders to talk budget caps and other policy battles to be fought in the new year.
The president wants to have responsible immigration reform. We hope to be able to work with members of Congress to get that done.
Why does the left want so many illegal immigrants? Why do they want amnesty? Let's just be honest. They want their votes.
Exactly how deep is the swamp and how is it spending your taxpayer dime?
And we found 30,000 federal employees that are in every governor of the 50 states.
Donald Trump loathes the media and even tweeted this, quote, "I will be announcing the most dishonest and corrupt media awards of the year."
The president's going to have his work cut out for him this weekend, trying to narrow down that list.
Baby, there's nothing holding me back. There's nothing holding me back.
Right, the only thing that was holding us back was a few commercials. But now we're ready to go for the final 2 hours.
We love the commercials. They pay our salaries.
Right. That's right. That song reminds me of like Miami, where it's warm. We need to go to Miami. We should be doing a show down there.
It was snowing in northern Florida today.
Northern Florida. We need to go a little south.
Right.
I was in South Florida a couple of days ago. It's actually chilly down there, too.
Seriously, though, I don't really mind the cold weather because you get to layer, you get to wear, warm clothes and fun boots. And yeah, it's kind of nice.
That's what Brian said. He said, I love the cold weather for the fun boots.
Right, the boots and the scarves.
That's exactly, Steve, but what I say in the breaks, I didn't want to say on the show. That was a top secret information.
Another reason to love the commercial.
Exactly. Never mind. I would, if it was 1998, I would have said it.
Yeah, don't say it. Don't get in trouble. All right, let's talk about North Korea right now. Our president is hitting back at Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un, he said during that press conference the other day that he has this nuclear button on his table. The entire U.S. is within striking range, and the U.S. can never start a war against me or our country. So our president is now firing back with this tweet.
He is a number of characters at a time. The president said this. Korean leader Kim Jong-un just stated that the nuclear button on his desk at all times. Will someone from his depleted and food-starved regime please inform him that I, too, have a nuclear button, but it is a much bigger and more powerful one than his, and my button works. So there you've got the president of the United States taking a shot. Little rocket man, as the president refers to him.
And while everyone's focusing on these tweets, and they're provocative and different, obviously, because the president's different, I look at what else is going on. He called out the Russians and he called out the Chinese about what they're doing to violate the sanctions. He talked about the transfer of oil. I also look for the fact that we've had a couple of defectors who are basically starving to death, who were riddled with bacteria. And then there's a report today out that the North Korean army is allowed to go out in shifts and leave their posts to scrounge for food, along with proof from satellite photos that the gas lines are getting longer and longer and the prices are going up. That's going to be the most effective way to bring North Korea to their knees. That's going to be a slow strangulation. And if you cannot adhere to those sanctions, I love the fact that the president called out the Chinese and the Russians.
Well, that's why these Iranians are protesting what's happening in their country. You have North Korean leader, you have the leader in Venezuela, you have the leader in Iran who are starving their people, and they're getting sick of it. And that's what freedom looks like. That hasn't happened yet in North Korea, but at least this dictator in North Korea, Kim Jong-un, is willing to negotiate or work with South Korea. He's now said and our president's saying it's because of all these sanctions. The North Korean leader is now saying, I want to meet with South Korea. We're actually going to do that next Tuesday to talk about the Winter Olympics because we want to take part, he's saying.
So for them to actually pick up the phone to call them, that's big.
Yeah.
And then you combine that with, as Brian mentioned, they're having trouble putting food on the table. The gas lines are getting longer and longer, so clearly something is working with the sanctions. And regarding the president's tweets, look, how many presidents over the last 20 years have tried to do something about North Korea to no effect? I mean, how many times has North Korea lied to us saying, yeah, we don't have any nuclear program? They were building it in the back room the whole time. This president has an unconventional way of dealing with things because just as the way he got elected, He's a disruptor, and he's disrupting North Korea.
And nothing has worked in the past, so he's got to do something different.
There's a huge connection between the Iranians and the North Koreans and the Russians. There's a reason why 1 minute they're shooting a rocket straight up in the air. Now they have ICBM technology. They're being helped. And a lot of people believe that the Iranians have temporarily exported their nuclear program, given it to North Korea, and they're only going to get it back when the so-called sanctions expire and this deal evaporates in 10 years. And that's, by the way, by treaty. Meanwhile, let's talk about Iran. I was fascinated to find out how these 40-plus uprisings have happened. These cities have begun to rise up against the government. It turns out there was a leaked document that revealed that Rouhani put a proposed budget. We see this every day. They don't see it. But the part of the budget that created so much ire and angst was the fact is that in that budget, they published the top secret stuff. The amount of billions that go to the clerical elite, the amount of billions that go to the Revolutionary Guard, to hardline organizations like Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, the Houthi rebels. And they said, wait a second, you're cutting back on our entitlements. We have 40% entitlements, 40% unemployment to those under 25 years old, and the 7% growth that we're seeing economically with the sanction relief, none of it's going to us, and that's how it started. Young people in rural cities, now it's in major cities, but for the most part, that's what's scaring this leadership to death. They don't know how to control this.
Well, look at the young people that you're talking about, Brian. There are people who have engineering degrees. There are doctors. They don't have any jobs because the sanctions over there are working as well. There's something else that they don't have there. Human rights, basic human rights. Yesterday, Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, we would support them and we'll do everything we can so that they have basic human rights. We want them to open up the internet, social media, so that Instagram and Telegraph are back on, so people can talk about what is going on in their own nation, because right now they don't know. And the other thing she added, and this is what it's all about for us, Iran is still a state sponsor of terror.
I know. They support Hezbollah. They hate Israel. And we're giving them money, your tax-paying dollars. Robert Bartlett is a retired staff sergeant, and we all wonder what's really happening in Iran because most of us haven't been there. This guy has been there. He was injured by an Iranian bomb, and he tells us he was actually injured in Iraq, but he has been in that area, and he tells us what's happening in Iran. Listen to this.
There's plenty of good people in the world and in every country. The problem is bad regimes. We had a bad regime in Iraq, we've had bad regimes in Afghanistan, and we've had a bad regime for a long time in Iran. You know, when they got the blood of 500 Americans just in the last few years on their hands, you know, they've been killing Americans since the 1970s, and we just have, we just really haven't done a whole lot really about it. Billions of dollars and money to go over, that obviously is not going to the people, and you're seeing the protests now.
Blood of thousands of American soldiers on the hands of the Iranians. He was in Iraq and was injured by an Iranian bomb.
We need the Europeans to help us out here, start putting some sanctions on them. They do a lot more trade than we do, and they got to start threatening them to stop cutting off the social media. I'm sure Google and company and Amazon and whoever works these apps has a way to unblock them. Some of these students have already figured out ways to overcome what the government's doing so they can communicate. So I hope that people realize there's a window here of opportunity.
And then you've got the media in this country. Take a look at the headline from Newsweek. Remember them? The once grand weekly. Trump, who blocks Americans on Twitter, tells Iran to unblock social media during protests. What's that talking about? Well, as we were telling you, over in Iran, they've turned off Instagram, Facebook, Telegram, things like that, so people can't communicate. Whereas Donald Trump, now famously, is being sued because there are a number of people who are bad-mouthing him on Twitter, and he blocked them. And they say that infringes on their First Amendment rights. Listen, for Newsweek to say that having somebody block you on Twitter is the same as a regime turning off the internet, that's crazy.
So they're comparing blocking one or two people or a dozen people, whatever it is, to blocking the entire country. Like you said, unbelievable. You want to hear something else unbelievable? Listen to what Joy Behar said on The View.
It's not apples and apples. It's not equal. But we're on a very slippery slope in this country toward throwing democracy out the window every single day.
We have to defend the freedom of the press and civil rights here.
We do, but we're not being stoned in the street for being gay.
Not yet. They're completely...
There at the end, Meghan McCain said, we do, but you're not being stoned in the street for being gay. And then Joy Behar said, not yet.
But what she doesn't understand is the president is supporting the protesters in Iran. Why are they protesting? They're protesting against genocide. They're protesting against being killed for being gay. The president is supporting them.
Right.
It's all about freedom.
I feel bad for Meghan McCain. Do you see the look on her face? That's what happens when you go over there. You just can't believe what these others are saying. But she's exasperated by it.
So what do you think about Newsweek making some equivalency there between the president blocking some people on Twitter and Iran turning off the internet? Friends at FoxNews.com, or you could tweet us. Our Twitter, still working right now, or Facebook.
I just love all these people telling the president he should be quiet. Really? We tried being quiet. How'd it go last time? The regime doubled down, cracked down, and killed 80 people.
All right.
Arrested 5,000.
It is 7-Eleven in New York.
That's right. Jillian has some more headlines for us. Hey, Jillian.
Good morning to you guys, to you at home as well. Let's start with another airline story for you guys. Overnight passengers on board an international flight forced to make a U-turn not once, but twice. First, the London-bound plane making an emergency landing back in Atlanta after pilots heard a strange noise. The plane turned around about an hour into the flight over North Carolina. Those passengers then put on another plane that took off hours later. But get this, it was forced to turn around over North Carolina again. No word on why it turned around the second time. Frustrating, I'm sure. A newly released Taliban hostage is under arrest, expected in court today, facing 15 charges. Joshua Boyle's offenses include death threats, sexual assault, and misleading police in Canada. In 2012, Boyle and his American wife, Caitlin Coleman, were abducted by terrorists backpacking in Afghanistan. They had 3 children during 5 years in captivity. Prior to his current wife, Boyle was briefly married to the sister of a former Gitmo detainee. In just a few hours, Doug Jones will be sworn into office as Alabama's newest U.S. Senator. Minnesota Lieutenant Governor Tina Smith will also be sworn into the Senate, replacing disgraced Democrat Al Franken. This as former Representative Michelle Bachmann eyes a run for Franken's seat. Bachmann, a religious conservative, saying if she is, quote, called, she will run. Dad, I'm going to the Olympics. No, not me. I'm not that talented. But an awesome father-son moment caught on camera when a hockey player tells his father he's representing the red, white, and blue.
Yeah!
That's Bobby Butler of the Milwaukee Admirals, an NHL affiliate team. And obviously, his dad loving every second of it. Congrats to both of them, right?
Great.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Aw, see, he's going to the Olympics.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
And the pros are not going this year.
I
Right?
know. I don't think a lot of them are.
Right. No, because I don't think they're allowed to. Yeah, I guess
They changed the rules
NHL,
again.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
All right. Meanwhile, 12 minutes after the hour, acting ICE Director Tom Homan sending a warning to California after it officially becomes a sanctuary state.
California better hold on tight. If the politicians in California don't want to protect their communities, then ICE will.
This man was killed by an illegal immigrant in California in 2010, and now his father has a message for everyone who lives in that state. Plus,
more than 20 years after that infamous attack on Nancy Kerrigan, her rival, Tanya Harding, has a stunning admission.
stressing his support for the protesters in Iran while putting North Korea on notice and Pakistan on notice. So how does this strategy work today? Will it be effective? Fox News contributor Lieutenant Colonel Michael Waltz is a retired Green Beret, author of Warrior Diplomat, worked for Dick Cheney, and breaks it all down for us. First off, the initial challenge goes out to Iran. We have another window of opportunity. This starts with young people in rural areas rising up because their life isn't great and it could be a lot better, and they blame the government. Do you like what the president's doing, diving right in directly?
Hey, Brian. Yeah, I do like what he's doing. And you know, President Obama missed a huge opportunity in 2009, as we've discussed. These protesters need to know that we have their back, that the United States is going to lead and the United States is going to engage and not just leave them hanging for this murderous regime to suppress. And, you know, we've seen this worked time and time again this strategy of supporting dissent and opposing dictators, going back to Reagan, who supported folks across Eastern Europe and supported folks fighting against the Soviet Union.
But, Colonel, we got to get our European allies involved. The president's one of his greatest assets is these personal relationships that he builds and the respect he seems to get. So now it's time to work the phone, starting now, right?
That's right. Well, you know, the Europeans are put in a little bit of a pickle here because on the one hand, they're dying to do business with Iran. On the other hand, they can't be now seen as, you know, we've essentially called out the regime, and these brave protesters are calling out the regime for what they are. But, you know, more broadly, Brian, President Trump understands a basic premise that Obama never got, and that's that you have to stand up to bullies. I mean, every kid in a schoolyard understands that if you punch them in the nose and you stand up to them, they're going to back down, and that's exactly what he's doing around the world.
Well, a lot of people were going crazy last night about the president's provocative tweet to Kim Jong-un, who said, I got a nuclear button on my desk. He says, yeah, I got one, and mine actually works, and it's bigger and more powerful. Do you have a problem with that? I mean, would that be something they did? It wouldn't be something necessarily that Dick Cheney and George Bush or Bill Clinton or certainly not Barack Obama would do.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily the way I would do it, Brian, but on the other hand, he is making the point that nuclear deterrence is in effect. We will match power for power. And, you know, one of the things about President Trump is he's not doing, you know, kind of following the same old protocol, whether it's calling out Pakistan, whether it's calling out Iran, or whether it's standing up to North Korea. You know, these problems were dumped into his lap. They were kicked down the, you know, kind of kicked down the road year after year. Now he has to deal with them, and he's dealing with them in a very different way. But I like the fact that he is opposing strength with strength. The United States is the most powerful nation in the world. We have the most powerful military. But if our enemies don't believe that we will use it, then what good is it?
He's at the tip of the spear. The next wave has to come in with diplomacy and firepower. Colonel, thanks so much.
All righty.
Straight ahead, Acting ICE Director Thomas Homan sending a warning to California after it officially becomes a sanctuary state. This man was killed by an illegal immigrant in California. His father is here with a message that
Amazon shipped to Prime customers in 2017, $5 billion. The company also said that more customers paid for those Prime benefits, which included free shipping than ever before. So good for them. Meanwhile, next up, $967,000. That's how much a court in Taiwan is ordering a dentist to pay back his mother for raising him and putting him through school. They apparently signed a contract 20 years ago where the doctor agreed to pay her 60% of his income. Go figure. And finally, the year 2050. That's when scientists say the world's chocolate supply will melt away. What? Why was this not the lead story? Scientists say climate change is threatening to shrink rainforests where cocoa beans grow, and that's where chocolate's from. Now you know the rest of the story. All right, Ainsley.
All right, thank you, Steve. California is now a sanctuary state, and the acting ICE director, Tom Homan, says people who live there better hold on tight.
At least 50% of these criminal aliens being released back into the public will reoffend the first year. 75% will reoffend within 5 years. This is a victimization of the American community. This isn't the America I grew up in. We got to take these sanctuary cities on. We got to take them to court, and we got to start charging some of these politicians with crimes.
Well, here to react is Don Rosenberg, whose son Drew was killed by an illegal immigrant in California in 2010, I should say. Thank you so much, Don, for joining us. For folks at home that aren't familiar with your son's story, what happened to Drew?
Well, Ainsley, first, thanks so much for having me. Drew was on his way home. He was in law school. He was on his way home one evening when Roberto Gallo made a last-second left-hand turn. They collided. Instead of stopping, Gallo accelerated and drove back and forth over him three times, killing him trying to flee.
Wow. So what about Roberto Gallo? Did he have a long rap sheet? Had he been in trouble before? And what happened to him afterwards?
Well, actually, he did not. He had been in the country for 11 years illegally. He did go to trial, although the charge was reduced from a felony hit and run to a vehicular manslaughter. He was convicted. USCIS refused to deport him. It took me about 8 months. I finally got him deported, and as far as I know now, he's back in Honduras.
All right, so what did you think what was your reaction when your governor, the Golden State governor, said to the 2.3 million illegal immigrants that live in California, you know what, it doesn't matter what your crimes are, you can stay, you're illegal, we'll let you stay here. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, this has been going on for years, and it certainly, wasn't unexpected on my part. But it's furious, and I'm waiting now for the Justice Department to go after these guys. It's not just outrageous what they're doing; it's illegal. And it's, he made a comment when he signed the bill that this was a balance of public safety versus reducing the fear of those here illegally. Well, first of all, there's no balance between criminals and public safety.
What about reducing the fear of all the moms and dads in the state of California that fear? I mean, that's a parent's biggest nightmare, biggest fear is what you're going through.
Oh, absolutely. Look, even to this day, when, if the phone rings at an off hour, or if, neither of my kids are in the house anymore, one's in college and one's graduated, but, they don't connect back to us. We send them a text or something, it's just immediate fear of what's happening. But yeah, everybody should be fearful. And a matter of fact, those people that are here illegally and haven't committed other crimes should be fearful too, because they weren't in a target to be deported, but now they're going to be if these people aren't turned over in jails and are set free, and then ICE has to go after them.
So, Don, I know you've been in touch with Tom Homan, the ICE director of Sanctuary Cities, who is not in favor of this. If the president is watching this morning, or if the governor of California is watching and up pretty early, what's your message to them?
My message is very simple. It's, we have laws, and that's what made this country a great country. And those laws have to be followed, particularly when they're so deadly. There's over 52,000 in 2016. There were over 52,000 illegal aliens in prison. And collectively, they committed about 400,000 crimes, not all in 2016. That's a major, major problem, and they need to do something about it. I will tell you that I'm working with some other people, and we hope to file an initiative by the end of this week that would repeal the sanctuary state law and add in some legislation or some verbiage to actually require law enforcement to cooperate with ICE. And if anybody's interested, they can go to fightsanctuarystate.com. We need people's help. We need people's donations. This is going to be a tough fight, even though the public is supportive of us. But getting the signatures and is a tough thing to do. So again, that's fightsanctuarystate.com, and we welcome help from all over the country, because whatever starts in California ends up going across the nation. So if we can defeat it here, it'll be a lot harder for it to take hold someplace else.
Yeah, there's your son, who is a law-abiding citizen in law school, had so much to contribute to our great country, and he's no longer. I'm really sorry for your loss.
Thank you so much. He was a great kid, and we miss him every second.
I am sure. Gosh, God bless your family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Still ahead, Eagle star quarterback Carson Wentz feeling the blitz online just for posting a picture of his hunting dog. This morning, he's firing back. And I'll take getting a bad rap for 200, Alex. That's coming up. The Jeopardy moment that's gone viral this morning.
What is Gangster's Paradise Lost?
Yes. Our judges have reevaluated one of your responses a few moments ago. We take 3,200 away from you.
Storm taking shape down south right now with millions. If you're watching right now, there's a real good possibility you are in its path.
That's in Savannah, Georgia. Fountains are freezing over there. Also, we showed a picture earlier where a fountain was frozen in Greenville, South Carolina. Temperatures are 30 degrees below average. And this isn't something that you see every day. Those are snow flurries that are falling down in Florida.
Right. In Buffalo, they laugh at this. It's a whiteout, though, in the conditions, and there was a deadly pileup. But these people could actually drive in the winter.
Bonkers. You couldn't see a gosh darn thing in front of you. Everything was blurry. There was complete whiteout right now. You could even tell there was complete whiteout. I still can't feel my fingertips just from walking, not even quartered, from my vehicle.
Wow. One person dead, several others injured.
Okay, let's go over to Janice Dean, who's tracking this great big storm. Currently, it's down south, but by the time it moves up, Janice, it's going to be a nor'easter.
Absolutely. And one of the most powerful nor'easters we've seen in years. And I must mention that we're getting breaking news out of Tallahassee. I-10, a stretch of I-10, 40 miles long, is shut down because of freezing rain and ice. And this is the situation that is unfolding over parts of Florida as well as the Carolinas. Charlotte might get 4 to 6 inches of snow. They actually might get records of how much snow they're going to see across the south. So this one is hard to forecast. I'm not going to lie. If you live anywhere along the East Coast, you need to be checking in with your forecasters several times today, because if this storm shifts a little bit more towards the west, that's going to be the difference between a couple of inches to a foot of snow. And we are going to have a blizzard on our hands tomorrow afternoon, especially for New England. I'm worried about Long Island. I'm worried about coastal New England. I'm also worried about areas that don't typically see snow and don't quite know how to handle it on the roadway. So listen to your local officials. There's going to be school closures. There's going to be people are not going to be able to go to work today. And then we're going to watch this thing develop. I mean, we talk about bombogenesis. Have you heard of that before? It's when the pressure drops 24 millibars in 24 hours. This one's going to double that. So this is going to be almost like a hurricane, a coastal hurricane offshore with hurricane force winds, certainly blizzard conditions. And I need you to over prepare for this, because some of the snow totals could be conservative. Again, a wobble 50 miles could be